Hello and welcome to this my latest chess video. This is a video that is made on the Sunday the 1st of May 2016. It's been a while since I last did a chess video because I haven't played much chess. Now today I did play a few games on the Internet Chess Club server, 5-minute Blitz games. And one game I played as black, I faced one knight f3, and my normal reply is d5, which is a fairly common move against one knight f3, and this can transpose to several openings. But because I haven't played for a long while, and because knight f3 is the 4th or 5th commonest move, so you don't get to play against it very often, I am very rusty on knight f3 d5 opening, and I just felt, well, I'll try something different. I may as well, because although I don't really know what else to do, so I played g6 and went for a fianchetto hypermodern type opening, because I know Bobby Fischer has played it a few times, but other than knowing he's played it, I don't know much, and I know he likes the King's Indian defence and the King's Indian attack, which are all fianchetto type openings and defences. But it went very well for me, and then after playing the game I thought I'd do some research on it, and so indeed I found a couple of Fischer games, one against Domarov where he'd won, and one against Kevitz where he'd won. So 2 wins for Fischer, and the openings, one or either or both of them, I can't remember now very clearly, sorry to be a bit vague on this, were down as Grunfeld defences. And the Grunfeld defence, though, is something I don't often play against d4. In fact, I don't think I've ever played it knowingly. I may have played a few times unknowingly, and I sort of could just about recognise it on the board in its pure form, but it can arise by transposition and such like, and it's not something I really want to study and learn at this stage, but it has been played by Fischer, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with it basically. But anyway, the next game I researched was this game, which is actually a win for white, and it's a sort of seminal game of how not to play. But what is very intriguing about this game is, one, it was played very recently, only a few days ago, just in May. It was played in a tournament called the Ultimate Blitz Challenge, and this is in St. Louis in America, and the 2 people playing, well, white was Grandmaster Wesley So, who was a young protege Grandmaster, but interestingly black was Garry Kasparov, ex-world champion, and some think the best player of modern times. And in this game, Garry Kasparov got absolutely hammered. And at the end of the game, Kasparov said it reminded him of a game of Morphy against an amateur. And so he's comparing Wesley So to Paul Morphy, who many call a chess genius, and he's calling himself an amateur. Well, you know, who am I to criticise Kasparov, but he did get so badly beaten in this game, I can understand him saying something like that and comparing himself to an amateur, because, I don't know, he must have fallen asleep or something. Yes, Wesley So played really well, and we have to admire that, and we'll see that in the game. But Kasparov really, as we'll see, retreated a lot of his pieces and just really didn't seem very un-Kasparov-like. Anyway, time to go through the game. So Wesley So, rather, as white, starts with one knight f3, and Kasparov plays g6, the hyper-modern opening. Basically, black is saying to white, yeah, go ahead, set up a pawn centre, and later on I'm going to develop some pieces first, and then later on I'm going to try and break down the pawn centre and prove that you can't hold the pawn centre. So Wesley So carries on, plays e4, starts to build his pawn centre, bishop g7, d4, And d6, as Kasparov is looking at some stage to play e5 and break up the white pawn centre. Well, Wesley So just says, thank you very much. You're giving me the centre, I'm going to grab it and play c4. I'll have a bit more of the centre, thank you. Kasparov here plays bishop g4, developing, which is fine. And here Wesley So plays bishop e2, which is quite a good move because it's a dual function move, and it has two good functions. So it's a dual function move with good features. Sometimes if pieces are doing too many jobs at once they can be stretched, but this is a good move because it develops the piece and also unblocks the pin on the knight, and that's quite good for white in this position, and this is not stretching white at all at the moment. It's not being overloaded. It is playing a good function in breaking the pin. So here Kasparov plays knight c6, hoping to add more pressure in the centre, which it does. And this is an interesting move, knight bd2. I'm still not fully convinced about this move because it appears now that black can win the pawn, win the d pawn with either knight takes or bishop takes. But I did run the game through a chess engine, and it was Stockfish 6, and Stockfish 6 reckoned this was about the second best move for white. I'm not sure what it put down the first best move. I think maybe bishop to e3 it was. I think was a good move for white in that position. But knight bd2 was a reasonable move and gave white, I think, a 50-point advantage, which is not much at all, really. But it isn't that bad, and Kasparov didn't think it that bad because he didn't take the pawn and he just played e5. So really, I just really would like to know actually what would have happened if Kasparov had taken the pawn, and maybe I'll have to go back and go over this a bit more. So what happens next? Well, Wesley So advances with d5 and attacks the black knight. So if the black knight comes into d4, white can simply play knight takes knight, and this will give black double pawns, as black will be forced at some stage to capture back with the e-pawn, and black probably does not want double pawns on the d file, and so that wasn't intriguing, appealing rather, to Kasparov. But the knight could either go to b4 or on the rim to a5, but in fact Kasparov puts his knight in reverse, and Kasparov actually does go into plays 3 reversing moves in quick succession here. So that's the first one with the knight, and Wesley So now plays h3, a very simple but effective move, saying to that black bishop, what are you doing there? And Kasparov chickens out and he runs in reverse again and puts the bishop back to d7 here. And so Kasparov's gone in reverse a couple of times, and Wesley So's really quite happy with this. In fact, he's so happy with his position he plays c5. Kasparov takes the pawn, but this gives the space for the white knight on d2 to come to c4, and that knight is now going to be very tricky in the centre, especially trying to attack the d6 square, which will be tricky for black in future. Also, the knight was attacking the e5 square, the two knights were, so Kasparov here plays f6, which doesn't really do him very much good. He probably would have preferred to have played f5 there. But anyway, he's protected the e-pawn with f6. And Wesley So now just he just doesn't. He just goes on the attack here with d6, and if black rather recaptures or captures the pawn with c takes d, then Wesley So would capture with the knight with a check, and that would be good for white. So Kasparov doesn't want that, and his knight goes into reverse again. Knight goes to c8. So there's that's the third reversal move that Kasparov has made in 3 or 4 moves, and this is all giving Wesley So extra tempi, and very Morphy-like actually. So Wesley So plays a good developing move, bishop e3, so the bishop's attacking the doubled c pawn, and Kasparov tries to protect it and does protect that with b6, but really perhaps it's not giving very much option for his other pieces to develop. Wesley So completes his develop almost by castling kingside, so he's got king safety anyway, and once he's moved his queen he will have completed his development. Kasparov plays bishop to c6, trying to attack the white e-pawn, and at this stage Wesley So plays d takes c. If Kasparov was to exchange queens with queen takes queen, Wesley So would probably play rook takes, rook from a1 takes on d1, recapturing the queen and controlling the open d-file. He may have taken with the f-rook, it's debatable that, but Kasparov saw that would basically give Wesley So an advantage, so he didn't want to exchange queens at this time and plays queen takes pawn on c7. And here Wesley So plays a very interesting move, again a sort of quite deep move. He plays b4, and we'll see what the point of this is in the next moment when Kasparov captures the pawn. But is it worth it? Because here we see the point of the move, and the point is rook to c1, and that rook is applying pressure on this open file. So what Wesley So has done is he has got 2 open files now, the C and D files, and he is owning those open files because this rook is indirectly attacking the black queen, and that could be a problem in the future and does turn out to be a major factor in the game, in this game. So Kasparov tries desperately to get some development, knight g7, but now queen b3 really stops black castling kingside. If black were to castle kingside, then white would have knight takes either on b6 or on e5 with a discovered check from the queen, so the knight couldn't be taken, and Wesley So would have extra pressure and have won an extra pawn back. There's also the chance of winning the double b pawn anyway if he wants to, but Wesley So's not really worried about that. He's playing for better position and better tactics really than just evening up the pawn score. And this was the move in the game that perplexed me, h6. I just thought Kasparov has seen some really sort of tricky move from Wesley So, but it isn't really that Wesley So has very many tricky moves here. He has some good moves, and what you're going to see is you're going to see him try to claim the D file and actually claim the D file, so he's going to claim the 2 open files now, but basically h6 is because there aren't many other good black moves at all in the position. And as I say, I analysed this with Stockfish. Black could play bishop takes e5, e4 rather, but that would be a bit risky with a knight move anywhere again, which would put the indirect attack from the white rook against the black queen. So that could be a risky thing to do. So really, Kasparov is really hemmed in and needs to find some Kasparov genius if he's to survive. I think Stockfish recommended that a5 would be a reasonable move for black here. But anyway, h6, well, it's a nothing move basically because black doesn't have very many good moves. He could win the e-pawn, but that would be quite a risky move, so he doesn't do that. And indeed, Wesley So now plays rook from f to d1 and is controlling the C and D open files, so he has a lot of pressure in the game. Kasparov now plays b5, and is that a good move? Because he's going to move the knight, but he's going to open up that file and that pressure, and I think Kasparov had just sort of lost his marbles a bit here. He loses his way. Wesley So is not bothered at all about sacking the knight, and just sacks the knight to open up the c file even further. Kasparov captures the knight, so Kasparov is up material wise now, and could go further material up by taking the e-pawn, but he can't at the moment. And Wesley So plays a very good move here with bishop takes b5, so that bishop, the black bishop, is now pinned to the king, and if it captures the white bishop, the black queen would be captured, so that can't be good for black. And all black can do in this position is play rook to b8, attacking the bishop, but the bishop can simply drop back and still maintain the threat against the black bishop and the indirect threat against the black queen. So the black queen steps aside now, and you think, well, you know, that's going to be it. But Wesley So plays an exchange sack now, and well, of course, black can't take back with the queen, and he has to take back with the knight, but now that knight is pinned, and Wesley So has a very good move against the black king, which is really stuck in the centre. So queen e6 check. Black can only move one piece, and he elects to move the knight e7, and Wesley So piles even more pressure on with bishop c5. So there's a lot of pressure on the knight here, and Kasparov tries to attack the bishop, but So isn't really interested and plays bishop takes e7, and at this point Kasparov just resigns. It looks shocking, but the reason for this is Wesley So's in such a good position, he's going to win some material and has very many good moves possible to him, basically because the black king can't move, the knight is pinned, and he's in bad trouble. So if he were to try and take with the queen, this would be the problem. Queen takes e7, Wesley So would play queen takes c8 check. The queen can't go to block the check on d8, because white could just play queen takes queen because the black knight remains pinned. So basically the black king has to move. The king could only move to f7, and well, from here the queen could capture the knight, but Wesley So's got an even better move, which is bishop to b3, cutting off more, putting the black king in check and cutting off its flight squares even more, and stopping black capturing the white queen. So the king now moves, and now with white can capture the black knight with a check, and that white king has no squares to move to, and the only way to stop the checkmate is to play queen e6, but it's only temporary because queen takes e6 is mate. So Kasparov figured all this out and saw all that ahead, and he resigned those 5 moves previously. Forget what. He resigned at this point here, and so he's been well and truly spanked, and really this is a exemplary game of how to play well with knight f3 against g6, and for white, and how not to play for black. So I thought it all very interesting. I hope you've found it interesting as well. A little bit sad that Kasparov got so badly beaten. It just shows that he obviously hasn't played for much, and his sharpness is really down, and whether he should really be sort of even getting back into this serious competition. It's a little bit sad to see a former champion and somebody who has been so good in the game, you know, gets so badly beaten. But then again, we have to give praise to Wesley So, who played a really, really good game, and it's no wonder Kasparov has compared him to Paul Morphy, because it was such a well played game, albeit a Blitz match. But there we are. So I thought very interesting, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck with your chess. Bye for now.